Good morning, fifth grade. How perfect is it that our lesson today talks about the season changing? So, do you know what is special about today in terms of seasons? Okay, well, today is the first day of autumn. We call that the autumnal equinox. And the reason we call it that is because the season is autumn. And the word equinox, when we think about equal, is that today there are equal number of hours of sunlight and nighttime. So our day will have after today, we'll have shorter amounts of sunlight each day, but today they're even. So perfect timing for this lesson. So enjoy. I'll be stopping frequently.
Today we're going to play a game to test your detective powers. Imagine a guard leads you into a room with no windows, and this room is kept at an even and comfortable temperature. Your job is to answer a simple question. What season is it outside? With no windows, no doors, and no temperature changes, just a brick wall to stare at. How could you ever guess? Luckily, you look around and find a clue. The guard left his camera on the table. You see on the camera that he had just taken a photo a few hours earlier. Can you tell the season from a single photo? We will give you 5 photos to practice on. Each image is from a different time of year. Take 30 seconds to analyze each image. Then write down your guess of the season. Figure out 2 or 3 reasons why you think it's that season. After each picture, we will discuss your reasons. Okay, here we go.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so picture one, what season do you think this is? So you need to come up with more than one reason for your answer, and then pay attention to the time on the photo. Okay, so you might be wondering or thinking that maybe this is summer for the reasons that it's 7:30 p.m. and it looks like there's still quite a bit of sunlight out. The person on the bike is wearing shorts and a t-shirt, no helmet though. But I would guess summer. Is your guess different than mine? So here's what they think. They think it's summer because they're wearing shorts. The grass is green. Ooh, that's another good one I missed. The time gives you another clue. It's 7:30, but it's still light out. All right, another picture. What season is this? So the first thing I notice is that it's 7:15 in the morning. I also noticed that there is fog or a mist above the grass. So I'm inferring, that's a prediction that I'm making based on the clues. So I'm inferring that it's a cooler morning. And sometimes in the fall, when the temperatures are warm in the day but cool in the night, we see this fog in the morning. Another clue that tells me that this is fall is, what do you think? Yes, the pumpkins, right? In the fall, we see pumpkins, a lot of pumpkin patches. It looks like the harvest season is has been already come into play. It's morning, and it's actually about 7:30 currently. So this picture would have been taken just a few minutes ago. So we still see the sun, um, and yeah, I do think this is the fall. Do you have any other reasons? Pumpkins grow. Um, Early morning, the mist above the grass. You don't see this mist when it's hot out. So the mist tells you that the weather is cool. Good. Okay, what season is this? I know some of you are thinking, well, why are we doing this? This seems way too easy. But I promise you, some of them will be a challenge in the later part of the activity. 4:30 p.m. How many of you really dislike this transition when we transition to winter time and it is dark by 5 p.m.? Yeah, that's really hard to adjust to, but I will say I do enjoy that because the kids think it's a little bit easier to go to bed. I can tell them it's bedtime at 5 o'clock and they won't know any different. So that's a little trick I play on them. But yes, there's snow, so that's a definite indicator that it's winter, but we don't have snow all the time in the winter. So you might want to look at the vegetation, which means the greenery. There is no grass that we can see. One, because it's covered, but two, look at the trees. There's no leaves on the trees. But the biggest clue is that that sun is setting at about 4:30 p.m. and that happens during the winter season. Winter, the snow, of course. We can't tell that it's cold. Okay, that's a prediction or an inference we can make, but we don't actually know that it's cold for sure, or how cold it is. We know that it's cold enough to have snow, so it has to be below freezing, which is 32 degrees. But we can't tell what the temperature is from there. The bare trees drop their leaves in the fall. 4:30, yes. During the winter, the days are really short. The sun rises late on winter mornings and it sets very early. Okay, here we go. Another photo. 7 o'clock in the morning. I still see some snow on the ground, but I also see a flower that's starting to bloom. So that is a little confusing because I didn't think that there was a lot of greenery in the winter. So maybe this is another season. What do you think? Spring? I think it's spring too. And the reason I think it's spring is because the snow is really starting to melt, and that greenery, the grass and the plants are trying to emerge from the winter ground. Maybe it is a late snowfall. Sometimes we have snowfalls in the spring, which can, in late March. Sometimes we've had them in April. So this could potentially be spring. Let's see. Yeah, spring. So in the spring, the warm weather melts the snow. 7 o'clock in the morning, the sun is shining. We could see the sun shining. I'll go back. But here you can see some of the sun's rays here. In the winter at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's not so sunny. Yep, the sun rises earlier and the days start to get longer. Okay, so what season do you think this is? This is where it might be a little tricky. So take a look at the time and the shadow. And if you can't figure it out, don't worry. We'll watch the next video to get a clue. So for me, this is a really hard one to determine because it appears that the photo is in black and white. So I can't necessarily see the colors of the vegetation. So I can't see if this is a bright green. I do notice though that the shadow is really long. And this is just after lunchtime. It's 12:30 p.m. So I'm wondering, the sun is at the highest point we learned in the last lesson at noon, at 12 o'clock p.m. So the shadow is just really long. So I'm wondering if that's a clue. What do you think your guess is? I'm not going to tell you my guess for the season just yet. We'll see if you're right.
You already know that the days are longer in the summer and shorter in the winter. That's because the sun is out longer in the summer than it is in the winter. This affects how warm it gets. If the sun is out longer, the day can be warmer. That's important for living things. But why is the sun out longer? What's going on? In this challenge, you're going to watch a 2-minute video. It's a sped up video showing the outdoors. It starts in the spring, then goes through summer, fall, and winter. Your job is to identify something in the daytime sky which changes over the course of the year. Remember, in earlier lessons you learned that the Earth spins, making the sun appear to move across the sky every day. But in this sped up video, you're going to need to look for something different, a slower change, something happening with the sun over the course of many days. Watch closely. Here we go. Here's springtime.
So the date on the bottom still says it's March. We're
Okay,
in
here's
May.
summer.
So starting to get to the summer months. Wow, what's that sun doing? We're in June still. It's really
All
hard to
right,
see the sun. It's
coming up as
really
fall.
high. So this is our season currently.
Okay, and finally, winter.
Lots more darkness. Wow. The sun really appears to change.
Okay, that's it. So what did you notice?
What did you see in the daytime sky? Um, and what changes did you see the sun making in each of the four seasons? Okay, so as we went from spring to summer, the path of the sun moved higher into the sky. So in the summer, our sun was the highest, and in the winter, our sun was the lowest. Now, that seems a little bit contradictory. You might think that because the sun is lower to the ground, it's warmer because it's closer to us, but that's actually the opposite. The summer months, the sun is the highest in the sky. Then, as we went into fall, the sun's path got lower, and then in the winter, it was the lowest. So, when you see the sun in the lowest part of the sky, it's winter, and that does affect how we see shadows.
When you watched the video, maybe you noticed an important difference between a summer day and a winter day. In the middle of a summer day, the sun was very high in the sky, so high that you couldn't even see it on the screen. In the middle of a winter day, the sun was much lower in the sky. If we look at the position of the sun at noon every day over the year, we will notice it's high in the sky during the summer. And gradually it begins to fall in the sky until it's quite low in the sky on winter at noon. Because the sun follows a lower path in the winter, it doesn't stay in the sky as long. This is why the days are shorter in winter. See, look at when the sun rises and sets in winter. On December 21st, in San Francisco, where I live, the sun came up at 7:21 a.m. and the sun set at 4:55 p.m. The day, in other words, was 9 hours long. And in the summer, the sun follows a higher path, so it stays in the sky longer. This is why the summer days are longer. Notice summer days are longer than winter days. It gets light earlier and stays light later in summer. That's because the sun comes up earlier and sets later. Again, for San Francisco, on June 21st, this is where I live, the sun came up at 5:48 a.m. and the sun set at 8:35 p.m. So the day was 13 hours long. Now, let's return to that bench photo.
Okay, so again, think about that time. So, about noon, and the sun, the shadow that's being casted onto the ground is a very long shadow. So, do you think that the sun is higher in the sky or lower in the sky? Okay, make a prediction. The photo was taken in the middle of the day. Okay, so we know that that was the clue of the 12:30 p.m. when the sun is at the highest in the sky. But since the bench casts a long shadow, that tells us that even though the sun is at its highest for the day, it's low compared to the other seasons. So the photo was taken in the winter. If this had been taken in the summer, our shadow would have been very short. Okay, and you can notice that. You might even want to start documenting this now as we start to switch seasons. Stand outside at the same time every day and notice what your shadow is doing.
Remember the game we started with? Now that you know about how the sun changes position with the season, Let's play another round, with harder to guess photos this time.
Okay, what do you think? What season is it? Take a look at the shadow. Is the shadow long or short? It's noon. Again, a very long shadow. So yes, this is winter. Very good. Ooh, 12:12 p.m. What do we notice about those shadows? Yeah, they're not very long. Summer. Short shadows show that the sun is high in the sky at midday. So that only happens in the summer. Ooh, and lastly, okay, can't really see the shadows because the sun is setting. So what season do you think it is and why? Notice the time, it's 5:30 p.m. Yes, winter, because it is almost dark at 5:30. Okay, thank you guys.